just wanted to introduce you to Colin, guys. Again, he thinks differently, and that's what's required in this new economy. So without me running my mouth, I want to just let the world know who you guys are, and just your story, where you came from, what are your goals, what do you like to do? If you don't like being on camera, pass it to the next man, whatever you got to do.
All right, well, first I want to thank Game and BusyWorks Beats. Definitely a big step for every beginner's production. I come from LA, Woodland Hills area. I went to UCSB. I was a pre-med just like Game, and I still am a pre-med. So music production definitely helps get through med school and studying, because you get to put what's in your mind out there, because most of the time you're either up too late studying and you can't talk to anyone, can't do anything, so you just put everything that's in your mind into music production and you express yourself through speakers, so it helps a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Derek Van Diest. I want to begin by thanking Game and BusyWorks Beat as well. They really helped me get started in music production. They really helped me learn FL Studio as well. I started my own music production company called Sandam Music, and I currently work to build on that, create new videos, and maybe even some beat tutorials in the near future. I also go to school to study to be an early childhood educator, so part-time I like to follow my passion as well as study to get a degree.
This is Chris Calvo. Just want to start off by thanking Game and Colin for giving me a chance to talk about myself. I am LA-based, recent graduate from California State University Northridge with a degree in liberal studies. I'm a little bit uncertain about the career where I'm actually going to pursue, but music has been something I've been doing quite frequently, and I've learned a lot from BusyWorks Beats.
I'm trying to cater the message today towards your goals. And it's more than just networking, because there's different styles of networking. There's horizontal networking, which is, dealing with people who are your peers and dealing with people at your level. That's horizontal. But then there's vertical networking, which may be, all have different vertical relationships. Like for Colin, it might be, Razor Music or something. That might be their vertical. You can come in. Somebody who's way bigger. And so the goal is when you're doing horizontal networking, you build a product with your horizontal network, so that you pitch that to a vertical relationship, which is if you guys did some kind of product, whatever it is, or service, you do that and then pitch that to like Isotope was here earlier, or like Waves or something, some bigger company.
Actually, the reason why I'm here is really for my brother. So a little bit of my story. I started writing like music when I was like 14, 15. I'm 38. I don't look it because black don't crack. But I was the oldest, so I had to be like the breadwinner for the family. So I joined the military right at 18 and kind of just left the house. Was a Marine first. I was lucky enough to get an academic scholarship for the Navy, so I became a naval officer. And so at about the age of 26, I was stationed in Monterey, California, going to grad school, studying system engineering analysis, and I started building my studio. I think I had like an Apple computer maybe 2 years prior, so I was messing around with GarageBand. I was like, well, this is so freeing to be able to produce the thoughts that are running crazy in your head. So I started making some tracks with a good friend of mine, Brian Holloway, aka Royal Flush. He taught me so much. He's like constantly learning new instruments and stuff, and so I was really inspired by that. So my youngest brother, unfortunately, he had a couple run-ins with the law at early ages, from 16, and spent 2 years in prison, and again at 20. And so he just got out. He's been out for 3 years. He's been producing music like crazy, putting stuff on iTunes and Spotify, and just touring. But he's in trouble with the law again, and I'm just like, he's got to get it right. So his story inspires me. The power of music. I actually saw you like 3 years ago on YouTube, and I'm like I'm a Logic guy, and I'm like, but the value you were giving, I was like, I can apply this to what I'm doing with Logic. So I just started following you. And I think I remember when you had like 30, 40,000 followers, and it's like now you're like 400,000. So to me, the positive message that you give to people is even more powerful than the tools you teach them and the skills you teach them with the music. So for me, I was like, I got to be around this guy. I got to get to know this guy and the community that you created. So that's kind of why I'm here. I've been doing stand-up for 12 years. IamJamar.com. I make my own music for my podcasts, for my various sketches that I make. And so what I want to kind of hit at first is like the comedic hip hop lane. Because nobody's really doing it. You know, you have Lonely Island, Childish Gambino a little bit, but I want to actually hit them with more punchlines, more jokes, and then get more replay value. Because when you do stand-up, they see you once, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay to see. Is it going to be the same jokes? Like, those are questions you get. Right. But when it's music, people want to hear the hits. And so it's like, okay, how can I make some comedic hits with my music? So that's why I'm here.
There it is. That's perfect, man.
Yeah. At Jamar J on Twitter and Instagram.
yeah, please.
Yeah.
Your website. I was gonna say that's a smart approach because everything's turning into a meme.
Absolutely.
Mini clips.
Absolutely.
You know, video content.
Absolutely.
And you're fitting in. So that's a very unique. I don't
find
think
a niche, and from there you can expand later once you've got a niche following.
Mm-hmm. See, okay, man with a mission. Again, I'm glad everybody has separate goals because now I know how to. Curate the message.
Yeah, and let me add one other big reason why I'm here. So about 4 years ago, I started investing in Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So I did pretty well with it. And we all know that the underlying technology of Bitcoin, which is blockchain, that's really what everybody's excited about because of all of the impact that it can do. Mm-hmm. So about 4 months ago, I got involved with a female Navy former cryptologist named Sarita Hines, and she created a company called Trustabit.io. And basically Trustabit is blockchain for flight delays. So imagine an airline being able to automatically send you a voucher, a travel voucher, in form of a digital currency that you can use in any way you want to. So the reason why I'm here is because I've actually partnered up with a bunch of different producers and artists to be brand ambassadors. Because music has so much replay value and music tells a story. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I don't know if you heard of a guy named Stolen Drums. Stolen Drums. Okay. Really dope producer. Has been doing it for about 16 years. He does live streams every 3 days, every other day on Facebook, and they get 10,000 views. And so it was interesting because it's like you're on YouTube doing your thing, and then he's on Facebook Live doing his thing, and it's just seeing. I was I gotta network you guys together. But he's one of our major music guys. So all the music content that we make for our commercials and our videos, we want to align with producers and give them equity in our company. So as it grows, they get to benefit in a major way.
That's the secret is putting skin in the game, giving somebody equity. They'll fight for you till the death of it. I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
That was again, you could tell when somebody has a public speaking persona in 2 seconds. Yeah, you're just flowing.
Thank you.
Stand up. You knew when to you knew how to capture us. You didn't even know our interest or anything. You had us laughing.
I know where the excitement now is from too. Bitcoin 4 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I would be flying up the ceiling if I invested in Bitcoin 4 years ago.
You do change when you don't have to worry about money.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
As you guys well know.
Right. $2 in was
what was it 4 years ago?
$2.
When I first got in, it was $354.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm
$3.54 or $300?
$354.
Oh, okay.
But I mine it now. I also mine Ethereum. Our token for Trustabit is an ERC20 token, so it's built on the Ethereum network. Okay. So that's the backbone of it. And then we have basically a kind of industrial level technology with Hyperledger Fabric to keep it secure so that the airlines can each have separate blockchains for their own processing.
Okay. It's funny. I was trying to get a computer built, and he's like, the video cards are being bought up because everybody's mining. But what does that mean? Why are you buying video cards?
Well, because basically the video card has a simple processor that can just do brute force calculations. So not so much for Bitcoin, more so for Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum primarily. Mm-hmm. You can mine those things by overclocking the card at a certain speed. Because all mining is the process of doing a complex algorithm. Okay. So you're just solving equations and you're just doing it one by one by one. The card is literally guessing. Mm-hmm. And so imagine if the answer is 1 out of a trillion, right? It has to just guess a bunch of times, and then in Bitcoin, every 10 minutes a block is correct. And so only one graphics card in the entire network is rewarded with the 12.5 Bitcoin plus whatever transaction fees occurred. So Ethereum, theirs is a little bit faster of a blockchain, but it's the same concept. So the graphic card is just spinning nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Wow.
to mine, which mining secures the network and makes sure that no one can kind of hack in there.
See, I'm glad you gave that last minute definition because
Yeah.
I was like, I still don't get it, but now I get it.
Yeah, it's like the
It's,
last
it's processing and it keeps the network
secure. Exactly.
I still
it's
don't
dual
get it.
purpose. Yeah.
My friend was like, yeah, man, he keeps telling me about the market, all the coin names and the currencies. I
There's
just don't-
well over 1,200 coins right now. And some of them have utilities, some of them don't. Some of them are just somebody who's trying to make another Bitcoin. It's
Yeah.
like, we don't need that. But
Sure.
Ethereum, that one has the widest adoption. I mean, there's literally a big company called Consensus. One of the original programs for Ethereum left that and created this company to basically look for almost like an angel fund to look for businesses that are creating applications so that they can invest in and give them the proper support to build their applications on the platform of Ethereum. So Ethereum's like the utility company of the world.
Right.
Bitcoin's like digital gold. That's
Digital
kind of
gold.
like how I like to
And that's why they call it mining.
Exactly.
This is a whole. That was something I didn't expect. I was telling them about the future markets, but that's clearly a future market.
well, think about this one. As a producer, when you see people out there creating content, they want to have great music to make that content have good replay value. So that's a whole. Instead of just going looking for people who are rappers, looking for these entrepreneurs who literally just want to have good content for their music on a regular basis and create some type of subscription model with them. $100 a month, I'll give you 5 tracks a month.
Right, and these are the ways. I'm not sure of everybody, whoever shows up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure their goals. That's the way you need to think in order to be different. People think it's a genre, or style of music. It's not. It's not the product. It's the way you go about incorporating your product into the economy.
Have you ever heard the Purple Cow Theory by
Yes,
Seth Godin?
I got that. Yeah, I got that.
That's it right there. Well, that's what made me laugh because that's what you're doing. What
Yes.
you were just saying.
What-
The
what's-
comedic rap.
Okay.
So the Purple Cow Theory is an idea of basically how you need to think about something to be successful in marketing it and getting it out there. And the idea is if you're in a car and you're driving down a highway and there's a bunch of cows on the side of the street or on the side of the pasture or whatever, you're going to look at them and you're not going to think anything of it. You're going to drive right on by. But if the next day you go and every single cow is purple, you're probably going to stop the car, probably basically crash, slam on the brakes, get out of the car, whip out your phone, take a video, call your friends, say, what the heck's going on? All these cows are purple. What's the deal? Because you've never seen one before, right? It's unique because it's out of the ordinary. And because it's out of the ordinary, you pay attention to it and you give it real attention and give it a real chance.
Right.
It's the same reason that Lady Gaga was wearing meat dresses.
Yeah.
The same reason that,
Very unique.
all that kind of stuff is going on because it works, right? And it cuts through and you need to, it's better to be the first in an interesting way than it is to be the best in a lot of cases, I would say.
Definitely.
The first guy in there usually gets the lion's share of whatever it is, and then there's usually better people that follow, but the first guy was the one that made the traction because he was the unique one.
And he got that brand.
Yeah.
And in war, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, whenever you conquer a hill, you have a higher advantage of defense. And that's the goal. Get into position first, like your military experience. I'm not sure what they teach you guys. They teach you guys like about Area 51 and what else?
No, Area 50. I was an anti-submarine warfare officer, and then we also did a lot of anti-pirate activity. I was stationed in Japan for a while, so we did a lot of thinking about how do the Chinese think about war, and comparing that to how the U.S. thinks about war, and then also North Korea and South Korea. And so,
Yikes.
yeah.
Basically, you need to figure out who you want to cut deals with to cut them in on the song royalties and hope that the people that you cut in are the ones that make the decisions and your song's good enough to run the gambit to get in there. I can tell you from experience, I did a song with One Direction and I didn't do that and I lost the song because of it in that case. If I had cut in this other guy instead of the guy that I cut in, it would have probably been fine and it probably would have been on the album, but because I sort of picked the wrong guy, and there's no way to know who the right guy is, right? You gotta
trust your gut, and,
Yep.
and you gotta, you gotta get really good at reading people in business, right?
Yeah.
There's always somebody who wants to get a cut of something for doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's just what that's what some managers do that. So you got to get good at reading people, taking a guy out to get a drink maybe, and that way you can get to know him a little bit better and ask him some more questions and see if he has a shady bone in him, You got to get to know who you're getting in bed with, so to speak.
Yeah.
True, and once you learn the advanced marketing aspects and business aspects, it's a lot easier to sense intention. You mentioned this earlier, Colin. I walked in on your conversation with Jay. You said it's so easy to know when, like the emails we get sometimes where it's the typical. They think it's super personalized, but it's copy and paste because they probably put a hyperlink to their website right in the middle of a paragraph, and it's kind of, and who knows you for the most part. I know this is probably not beginner level stuff, so I don't want to overwhelm you with anything, but once you get to a point where you can't do everything in 24 hours, it's based on relationships. What do you think I rented out a studio for 4 hours for 4 days for? I brought in friends like Colin, who's been trying to reach it. We've been trying to do something for a while now.
Yeah.
And I was in the wrong many times in our communications, so I apologize. But now I figured, why not bring in superstar friends of mine, and why not trade things that I have that are intangible with them, and let them do their thing with those things. And it becomes a thing of relationships, again, not beginner level stuff, because we talked about horizontal networking versus vertical networking. You really have to ask yourself, what do I have to offer that's not money? Because if you say your product, nobody really cares about your product because they have their own product. Unless it complements their product and you can offer it as a combo product. Think about, military strategy. If you have one warrior over here and another warrior over here, if they tag team and get like 3 warriors together, they have an army, which go on a campaign. You're a lot stronger with 3 people than you are one. And the goal is to create a bundle, but not from just your own product. Bundle your thing with somebody else's thing with somebody else's thing. That's why when you book a hotel in Anaheim, it also comes with an upsell of car service. They got, stuff in the room for TED Talk. Was it, Jay? Was it TED Talk? They got TED Talk campaign. So how can you create so many symbiotic relationships to surround yourself in the things that, not necessarily that you're weak in, but just things that fall under your brand umbrella without you having to create the product. And that's, again, like a third level thing maybe, but that's what he's talking about. It's relationships on who do you cut in? Who do you do that favor for now? Who do you sew into? Because later down the line, that person's, and these are all some people are decision makers. Some people aren't. And if you want to get placed, the definition of being a placement is to be placed. And to be placed, you have to be put in position by a person. So who is that decision maker? A lot of people think it's the superstar artists like themselves. Sometimes it is. I guess Drake has some autonomy. Most of the time it's going to be somebody, for example, Razor Music, right? There's going to be a lady coming in on Saturday. Her name is Caroline. She's the person to talk to as far as dealing with Razor Music and expanding their brand. You don't talk to the CEO of Razor about how to expand the brand. Even though that could be Drake, you don't talk to Drake about how do I get on Drake's album. You talk to somebody they've delegated that decision-making to. So sometimes it's not always the top people in management. Sometimes it's not always the bottom people. Sometimes it's the middle people. And you have to map it out. You don't know everybody's organization. It's not the same. So would you say that's a parallel to what you meant by kind of bringing somebody into that deal?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, and again, every situation's different, right? Like you have to figure things out, but there is a huge amount, like a buddy of mine started a company. I'll give a funny story about this that explains it. He started a company, and I won't go into what it was, but the company was a really good idea, and they were really qualified, right? And because he didn't think about things this way, there were basically partnerships that he could have made where he might not have made a lot of money on the partnerships, right? But if he had done them, it would have given him enough traction and enough foothold to then just go to the moon, right? But he went, well, wait a second, these people haven't done anything, right? I don't need to give them a piece of my business. They didn't do anything for this. I'm the one that did this. I shouldn't do that, right? And his business completely failed, in my opinion, because of that kind of thinking, right? Instead of looking at it like, well, he did nothing and he's going to get a piece of what I'm doing, look at it instead in the music example and say, okay, well, even if I do this and I cut this guy in and now I'm on Drake's album, if I make no money on that song, right? I've now been on Drake's album. It's going to be really easy for me now to get on another song that's really big because I've already been on Drake's. Almost nobody's on Drake's album. I'm one of like 20 people now, right? So I can go to this other person and say, look, I want to be on this song. I was already on Drake's album, so clearly I'm good enough. Here are my beats. The guy's going to listen to them, right? If I'm the guy that, well, I almost was on Drake's album, but like I didn't want to, cut the guy in, and so I was worried about keeping all the royalties to my thing that now is worth nothing, right? And maybe it's just because I'm aggressive, I always argue, just go for the win. The win is way more important than how much money or how much plays or how much royalties you get out of the win. Because if you win and you know how to win, you're going to win more and more. And every time you win, the odds and the deals get better in your favor, right? A guy like Dr. Luke, who I don't know if you guys are familiar with, he made a lot of the old Kesha stuff, the Katy Perry stuff, all that stuff. He was notorious for having horrible deals for people, right? Like, and I'm not saying that's who you want to be, but the only reason he's able to have horrible deals is because he's the one bringing all the value. Like, he can take a random guy's song, bring it into the studio, and now it's on Katy Perry's album. The guy's already instantly credible, right? And he has the ability to do that. That's why the deals were good. But in the beginning, I guarantee you, he was not getting good deals on Katy Perry songs, right? He was probably getting almost none of them, right? And, if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing and what you're building, I believe that you will always win in the long run by taking that mentality, Example of what he gave before. If he's building this company and he doesn't want to cut anyone in and he just wants to do it his own coin, his own thing, I mean, good luck getting that off the ground, right? That's never going to work. But if you start to spread it around and gain traction and things like that, the possibilities open up, right? And it's all, look at the biggest companies in the world. Facebook, let's take, for example, right? Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know the specifics, but I guarantee you he doesn't own more than 20% of Facebook overall. In terms of the ownership of the company, I guarantee you he doesn't. And it's because he had to take in capital, give away capital to get investment, in terms of people, in terms of actual money. And that's how he built Facebook, right? He's not building, if he goes, wait a second, I'm the guy that built Facebook. I don't need anyone's money. I don't need anyone's help, anyone's equity. I'm going to just do this myself. He's not building Facebook, right? He needed help. And people need something for that help. And if you're willing to give them that and you set it up right, I really think that's how you build something insane and you build something crazy.
So Mark Zuckerberg owns 28.2%.
28.
Facebook. So close to what you were saying. He doesn't own 50%. He owns a quarter of it.
And in the early days, he probably made all of it, right? He was probably the only developer. So
giving most of it away.
Yeah, he's giving most of it away.
And hopefully you're starting to see a thread in the conversations and topics that are being brought up in the last hour and a half, is that this is entrepreneurship. We're teaching you how to be, I'm not going to be politically correct, but killers in the market, assassins in what you do, meaning that you're fighting for a good cause. You have to be a warrior with the cause. And this is business, it's just like you want to sell beats. It's selling is a whole skill and craft unto itself. And then you got the product, the beats. Okay. It's a music, which is a craft, and business, which is an expertise, and both are expertise. So I hope to open your mind up. Again, you're all coming from different paths and different structures, but it's about how to be an entrepreneur. That's the secret. You can learn from tutorials all day long. The product could be great, but if you build a castle underground and nobody sees it, nobody knows you have a castle underground, So there are a lot of principles that, I'm going to go over later, but the common thread is, we're talking about equity and stuff. Not everybody's at that level, but that's a perfect conversation because...
Well, the concept there wasn't so much about that. It's more just about it takes help to do anything, right? And to accomplish big things. It's impossible to do it by yourself.
Absolutely.
And what form that help takes, there's a million ways you can do it, but sometimes it involves bringing people in and sort of giving them something in return. And maybe, early on in business, I know I always thought this way. I was like, this guy is doing almost nothing. I'm the one that's done all the work. Why would I do that? Mm-hmm. And, if the person's actually going to bring nothing, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. But a lot of the time people can add incredible value to what you're doing, Mm-hmm. And it's important to sort of look at that and give that a chance, because I think that's That's, it's how you can cut through. So many people don't do that and they don't think that way.
Right.
And the road is just littered with dead things that could have been because of it, I think. I mean, if you have something that's not any good, it's not going to matter, but.
True. And you spoke about a different perception about getting credit on an album. It's that don't worry about the money per se. If this is one of your first things you're doing, it's social proof.
Yeah.
You want to prove that people can trust you. The whole game is trust. You can either spend $20 to get a new customer who doesn't know anything about you and try to convert them into, my quick phrase for this is preach to the choir, the dedicated ones, the ones who came first, the cream of the crop. Speak to the choir, not the savages. Meaning the people who are outside who could care less about Busy Works Beats, who could care less about music production at all or business. You'd be better. I forgot what I was going on about. I go on tangents. You made a point. Oh, social proof. The reason you're getting on these album placements or whatever it may be, or working with huge brands is to show that you can be trusted as whatever you do, however you approach, the music business, whatever lane that is. Okay, it's social proof. Now, you also spoke about doing it as a team. In the beginning, you're not going to have a team unless I just listened to a podcast from somebody who all he does is financing. All he does is get deals from banks. That's all he does. He deals with capital and financing. He said, money makes stuff move. You either make it move for a good cause or you move for your own selfish causes. And money is what gets people on your team. Unfortunately, that's how everything works. Yeah. Unless they have equity deals. I'm sure you've seen Shark Tank.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody shook their head. Yeah, everybody's seen Shark Tank. So Damon John is working with Grant Cardone. I don't mean to be so long-winded, but he's speaking about equity rounds. Meaning, Colin spoke about this a second ago. How did Mark Zuckerberg end up with just 28.7%? 4%? How did he end up with that odd number percentage? It's because the first round he gives away 20% for $100,000. So now he's down to 80. And now the second round, the business might be worth more. So even if it's not for money, he might be doing it for a relationship, like doing that favor for getting on an album. For example, I'm going on a bunch of tangents, but my brain is working 1,000 miles an hour. Is that I was just speaking to Illmind in New York City. You familiar with Illmind from Blap Chat or
Kanye West, right?
Kanye West, Drake, J. Cole. A lot of those producers just add a kick drum to a track. And just add a snare drum to a track, and they get this placement. The goal is to get the social proof. They're not worried about the huge check, even though they may get the check. It depends on where the favor is going. The goal is to get the social proof so they can move into new projects. And they're doing favors for specific people because of the intangible value, not the monetary value. Why would they bring in a guy who just added a little kick? Even though that's the nature of being fair. If you added a kick or something substantial, you want to give them their just due credit. They're doing that because they know that credit is a favor for their friend to ultimately tap into the intangibles, which are access. And Jay Abraham is a famous teacher who talks about other people's stuff, not just other people's money, but other people's relationships, other people's property, other people's, Ryan Leslie's a famous example of this. He has super fans who own stuff like the Lamborghini shop or something like that.
It was a club, Lamborghini club.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? Was it 25 or was it like something like 60 Lambos that were part of this club? And the super fan, because Ryan has direct access to his group. Mm-hmm. He sent something out, and the guy was like, "Hey, well, I don't want to buy that, but what about if I have my Lambos for your next video?"
Yeah.
He's got this crazy music video with. I think it was literally 99 Lamborghinis.
99 exactly.
All different ages and new ones, old ones. Mm-hmm. And that was his video was made on a super. And he didn't have to rent those Lamborghinis. He gave them to him free because he's a fan.
Exactly. And those are the types of intangibles you need to start thinking about. It's not always a direct monetary trade. What are we taught in school? Trade your time for money. What are you taught in school? Trade your product for money only. Mm-hmm. Of course, the time money game is a game that we all are trying to get out of, not to just exchange time for money. Okay, but start thinking about intangibles. How can you grow your business by doing a deal with somebody rather than just get paid? It's not always about working for free either. You want to be compensated. Sometimes being compensated is a piece of equity, like Colin said, a percentage, so that later down the line you're getting paid your value for whatever that thing is. So again, this is entrepreneurship. If you haven't seen the common theme of conversation, this is what separates. This is why you're all in the right attire. You read the emails for one. You read it all the way through. You actually read the updated emails. I mean, Colin, you are dressed up. I consider that dressed up. You're not like
I didn't get the emails.
a fitted hat. Yeah, my bad. I didn't communicate well with everyone. And you pay attention to detail, because that email I sent out was last minute. You didn't have to read it. You could have skipped over it. You could have just did whatever. So that's all I had to say. But again, that's what separates you guys. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in here compared to the how many thousands of people follow us? 400,000?
Right.
But 5 people,
Almost 700,000.
okay, took action. 5 people are trying to learn from the masters right under one roof. 5 people are here early, super early. Earlier than everybody else. I don't even know if more people are coming. But, these are the intangible things, okay, that separate you from everybody else. So don't think that you're not valuable from what you've done already. You've already shown that you're valuable. But how are you going to apply that moving forward? So I'm kind of curious how we can add value to you guys, in your journeys. I don't know your specific problems, so I don't want to run my mouth about random stuff. In your journey, do you have a specific problem? Does anybody have like a specific thing that they've been wondering about? You spoke about the royalty thing.
The royalty thing, yeah. It's just, I feel like it's too broad.
Mm-hmm.
And like for someone like me who do I do pretty much any kind of genre, from movie score composition to trap, hip hop, EDM, remixes, everything. Like even YouTube intros. I don't know where to focus on when it comes to royalties. Like I want to see if it's even possible to get royalty from YouTube videos. So that's what I need to figure out a little bit.
Okay. Let's speak about that specifically. You spoke about Spotify and some other stuff earlier with Jay.
Like,
TuneCore.
is there a
Yeah.
bank
But-
that big companies go to? Like, is there a bank? I think
There's stuff
what's
like that. There's something called Premium Beat.
Jingle Bucks, whatever.
Jingle Punks.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Jingle Punks? Yeah.
There's one called Premium Beat that does that. There's companies like that. But I think, are you asking sort of how to get paid for stuff you make, or are you asking how to get someone to pay for your music?
To be honest,
Those are
I'm
kinda two
asking
different
how
questions.
people are gonna find us music producers.
Mhm.
That's
From
what I'm
the-
trying to figure out.
Apart
Okay.
from the music library, right?
From the
Essentially.
music library, as you said, money is a myth. That changed my mindset, and like for life, I feel like. As you said, money is a myth. What matters is value. And like people pay for what they value.
I'll give you my answer, but I'll let Colin speak.
So,
So
well, you go first. I want to hear what you say, but
Okay.
I have an answer too.
Okay, it's a different way of thinking. Why not, instead of selling music, sell a package to YouTube creators?
That's literally what I was going to say. I was going to say sell music to people that make YouTube content
Yeah.
for their intros and their taglines, because all these people need one of those.
Right.
None of them know how to make music. And they all are clearly willing to put money into their career because they're spending enough time to make videos in the first place. I can't believe you said that. All right, we'll keep going.
And it's literally an industry that's immeasurable. So
Right.
what you want to do initially, okay, you can get things like Content ID and TuneCore, statistics and all that. But sell a package just as a stand-up fee, or a one-time fee, okay? But not just, you could package it as just music, but I would try to spin it into maybe partnering up with somebody who makes thumbnails, or
right.
what else do YouTubers use? What's the word? Oh, intros, video intros, okay? Think of how to create a product for YouTubers versus how do I get my thing into a YouTube video? And also offer more than one piece of music for one price. That's the thing people can't get over. Like, I'm selling 10 songs for $20, but you're doing that however many times, versus if you sold it for $500, you only get one sale, and your market's a lot slimmer. But Curtis King's going to come on Saturday and Sunday to talk about the licensing approach.
Okay.
So I think your question is, how do you use an already built system like iTunes and all their metrics to give you your proper money for something that you do independently?
Right.
And that's the disconnect.
Not
is that
get paid through a label.
not get paid their
Oh,
label.
so the answer to that then is you just need a distributor. So what you need is, there's a company called DistroKid that does it, another one called TuneCore, another one called CD Baby.
Okay,
And
that's
what you do is you basically go to those websites and you upload the song that you want. Let's say you're putting it on Spotify. You upload the song on those sites and they'll put it on Spotify for you for a fee. And then anytime that song gets listened to or played or streamed, you'll get a percentage, I believe Spotify's 0.008 cents a stream or something like that. It's very low. But the idea is then they handle all the accounting and they handle all of that. And so what ends up happening then is, let's say you're, Childish Gambino and you have, 50 million streams a month, then every month Childish Gambino goes into his TuneCore account and there's just a huge balance there of let's say it's 10 grand or whatever it is that he's earned. And then he can just withdraw it right there.
cool. What are the websites you just said?
One's called DistroKid, DISTROKID. One's called CD Baby, and the other one is TuneCore. But CD Baby is definitely the best.
Awesome.
But any of those will work. But DistroKid. Yeah. DistroKid is DistroKid's a very good one because I believe it's like a one-time rate for the song. I think it's like $20 and then that's it. And so if the song gets 4 trillion streams, they only get $20. They don't get any more. Whereas I think some of the other ones might take a small percentage. I don't remember specifically, but that's what you use for that. So but the point that he was making before I think is really great. If you're making music and you're trying to make money from it, right? You have to think partly about what you're making, but you also have to think about what other people are making, right? If you want to be the next progressive house DJ, right? You're going to have to be one hell of a DJ to go up against Avicii and Tiesto and all these guys and just beat them at that game, right? Now, if you look at it in a different angle and say, okay, well, what can I make that kind of gives this feeling and emotion and sort of feels like this? How can I deliver this in like a different format or a different place that those guys aren't doing? Because then I'm the only one, right? And that's why I love the example that he gave before about the comedy rap, right? He can go ahead and make the exact same music as Drake. But if every lyric that he's making is really funny and it's like a comedic thing, there's a place for that, right? Because Drake's not doing that. None of the other rappers out there are doing that. So people are going to go, well, I could listen to Drake or I could listen to this because it's funny, it's different, right? The reason I think mashups were so successful when mashup culture really started is because it took something that everyone loved already, but then it completely inverted it in a different way. So they were getting something that they wanted in a way that they couldn't get it from the actual thing. So it became unique just by the fact that it was remixed and different, right? I think that's kind of the mentality that you want to have for whatever it is you guys are making or what you're doing. You can't just make exactly what someone else is making and expect to beat them out, at their own game because they're already there. They got there first. Very rarely that can work, but I think a much better approach is trying to find a different way. What he was saying before too about the YouTube thing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but YouTube now demonetizes your video if it has third-party music in it. So if I'm a cooking blog and I make a video about how to make a really good, salmon, right? And I use a Maroon 5 song in that, my video no longer can get paid. I can't make any money from YouTube anymore.
There he is.
So,
how you doing there, buddy?
So there's a need for music to do that.
Yeah, we're just
right?
chit-chatting right now.
So they need music now, these people, for that video because they want to make money on it, right? If they put the Maroon 5 song in it, it gets demonetized instantly. So they don't want to do that. So they need music from somewhere. Well, where do they get it? Well, maybe they get it from you. Maybe they get it from you, right? Instead of everybody trying to fight to get on the Spotify charts, maybe you spend all that energy just hitting up these YouTubers and say, look, you're making cooking blogs. That's great. You probably don't want the worst music in the world in that video, right? And you can't use the stuff you really want to because it'll get demonetized. So I can sell you this for $10. You can use it for all your videos. Think about it. $10 a video or $10 a channel. I mean, I don't need to tell you how many YouTube channels out there make cooking products, right? By the time you get through cooking products, if you actually do it, you're already a millionaire. But if you're not tired yet, now you can move on to the car companies, right? The guys that do the car reviews. And then you can move on to the athletic reviews. I mean, it never ends, right? You would never need to do a single thing other than that. And you could probably have a $10 million business if you got it far enough, right? Just thinking like that, it takes a bit of a mental shift, right? Because we're kind of taught in our lives to do the same thing as everyone else, right? Or this is the way you should do it. And usually if everyone's already there, it's probably too late. There's usually...
I've actually seen some videos where there's a watermark, the guy actually says, his name tag in the intro video. Like you could even like do that for free, give him a intro song, but you're pretty much,
Spreading your
advertising
brand.
your own beat.
Exactly. And you could.
How many views that they're getting?
Yep. You could do that too.
That's a very advanced way of thinking. And I want to introduce everyone to Sound Oracle, who is the reason I came out to the LA area. I didn't want to be rude and not introduce everyone. So I'll let everyone introduce themselves. So you can see it's pretty quaint and intimate today.
The way I like it.
The way I like it. We're really teaching them entrepreneurship, which is something that you're into as well.
Yes.
And just like Colin said, it's a different way to think. It's how much can you get monetarily. Sometimes it's a percentage thing. Sometimes it's a flat fee. That's a judgment you have to make as an entrepreneur. But before I start talking, again, Sound Oracle from soundoracle.net. I mean, the sounds were on how many? You can name drop as you want. We were talking about social proof. Please name drop as much as you can.
Okay, I'm Sound Oracle, as Busy said. I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a producer and a sound designer. Probably most notably, I'm the sound designer for Timbaland and the sound designer for Polo the Don. I've produced and sound designed on records for Jay-Z, Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, projects by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay, I love Gary Vee.
Who doesn't love Gary Vee? Honestly, Chris Brown. The list goes on. But more importantly, I'm a born producer and I became an entrepreneur. So that's why I'm drawn to this type of group in this type of setting, because music is backed by business, and these are the gems. You don't have to be able to play a key or a chord. If you know this stuff, you will be the winner in this industry.
It's true, man. And then I wanted everyone to introduce themselves to Sound Oracle as well. This is
Arash.
Nice to meet you.
Good man.
You can actually go ahead and have the seat.
Oh yeah, thank you. I
That's
appreciate that.
the second offer. I'll take it.
And buddy John in the lavender or purple, or is that blueberry?
It's my roommate. So.
Oh, you borrowed it. Okay.
But my name is Johnny Carrero, 23, originally from Connecticut. I came out to California about 3-4 years ago, joined the Marine Corps, got out, and I'm going to school now. So
Awesome, man.
that's about it.
You have a different spirit about you. Okay.
So it's nice to meet you, Sound Oracle. I didn't meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
My name is Derek. So I'm from Santa Clarita, and I'm basically beginning in this music production industry. I kind of started my own company, and I'm trying to get it off. I'm at the very beginning stage, so that's why I'm here, trying to learn as much as I can about entrepreneurship and try to start it up and see how it goes.
There it is, modest man right there.
Yeah. I'm Chris.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
nice to meet you. I'm LA based. I just graduated with a bachelor's in liberal studies. Music's not really something that was part of my childhood, but I recently got really into it, and I'm more of a beginner amateur producer. Haven't really have any credits yet, but I came out here to kind of refresh my ambition as a producer and make more connections.
Cool. Awesome, man. Yeah, and the reason I had everyone introduce themselves again, I know that seemed a little redundant, but it's actually part of creating a good product.
Wait,
so I
I
did
get
as.
to-
Oh, my fault. Oh, I just cut
This
everybody.
is Sound Oracle.
I just thought you did already.
Jamar John Johnson. I am actually a stand-up comedian by trade. Been doing it for 12 years. LA based, from New York City originally. In the military for 14 years. Big Gary Vee fan. Entrepreneurship has been huge in my life. Going back to the Rich Dad Poor Dad days, I read that. My friend mailed it to me when I was in the Navy. The book changed my mind because it was like, it made me know what I was. I was always an entrepreneur. Ever since I was 16, I had an airbrush business. And so what I'm trying to do now is take comedy and mesh that with the music. Because I feel like that's the only lane that's not really, like, people are afraid to touch it. Like, Lonely Island touched it a little bit. But I feel like I can get a little bit deeper into that lane and then have some replay value to build the audience to then do stand-up more. So that's kind of like my goal.
Deep, man. And the reason I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize for that.
done.
And the reason I had everyone kind of reintroduce themselves to, again, a vertical network is that you want to, and me and Jay talk about this a lot. We're out at NAMM or trying to meet influencers and business people. Sometimes Jay feels like he might be too forward by presenting himself and what he has to offer. But as long as you implant into your philosophy that what if that person was in dire need of something that you offer, but you were selfish enough to think that they didn't need it, or you know what I mean? You didn't speak up when they needed help the most because you assumed that they wouldn't see value in you. So it's actually a selfish thing that we do not project our message and our intention. So that's why I had everyone reintroduce ourselves, because that's part of your product as well, which is, I'm not going to get into copywriting or anything like that. That's for our secret, $10,000 a month clients for our private pyramid club when we come out with that.
No pyramids for me.
Yeah, not like
Touching
pyramid
that
scheme.
stuff.
No. I had somebody try to recruit me in the car from the airport to the pyramid club.
Oh God!
I said,
"You're in LA. Welcome to that."
Yeah.
Everybody's got a get rich quick scheme out here.
Yeah. So, but it's part of the product. Here's a quick little 4-step thing. This is what you do want to write down. This applies to everything. Now, I'm not going to give you everything about copywriting and sales, but I want to give you guys something to take away because, again, you're the 5 people who actually came out in a 2-day notice. You traveled 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
3 hours to
2
come.
hours.
2 hours to come
2
here.
hours, too.
We got 5 hours? 2 hours?
2 hours, yeah.
And you guys just walk down the
Hour
street.
and a half.
Hour and a half. 2
Just
minutes.
an hour.
So either way, it's more than an hour. It's out of your neighborhood. You travel
Like 2.
2 hours.
Yeah.
And just to come and create a universal intention. But part of your sales, this is what's going to separate you from everybody else. Okay, it's 4 steps. It's very simple. Ready? So I need you to write this down. If you're going to write anything down, then we're going to get to the gems from Sound Oracle and Colin alone, because the fact that you guys spent time with me means everything. Again, you shared stuff that I didn't even expect. I appreciate that 1,000 times.
Oh, no problem.
And Orca, we still got catching up to do, but
Exactly.
for everyone else, it's intro is the first step. You need to introduce and get people's attention. That's Colin was saying. It's the game of attention. Okay. Intro is the first step. You always introduce yourself. You introduce your product. You introduce your motives or your brand, your ongoing activity. The second is bonding. And the reason I keep repetitively, getting into your story is because I want to bond with you. I want to know your story so I can actually offer you a solution. So whenever you're talking to your customer or your client, the more you bond, just like your girlfriend, the more time you spend with a girl, the more she trusts you. And there's an invisible threshold of trust. Okay. And once the customer surpasses that invisible threshold, just like a compressor, then you capture their signal, you capture their attention. Okay. And what you do with it from that point is on you. But trust is the invisible currency of all business. Okay, so that's where bonding comes into play. Now, Colin spoke about, how album placements and different decisions are made and who to put on an album or who to credit for a certain thing in the song. That can all weigh in. Long story short, sometimes you take a record for no money. Sometimes you take a record to actually earn a lot of back-end income or whatever the case may be. That's social proof. So the third step is proof, okay? And you want to prove that you have the results. You want to prove that you can do it. You want to prove that the Ty Lopez, you're not Ty Lopez, not no shade to Ty Lopez. I mean, I love the
He's a
guy.
brilliant marketer.
You're a brilliant marketer.
Some of his events. Incredible.
His whole marketing campaign is social proof. He's in front of a Ferrari in Beverly Hills or Hollywood. He has models behind him. All the things that guys want. They
Talking
want
to Mark Cuban.
Yeah. Talking to Mark Cuban.
All the
Talking.
top guys. Hangs out with Elon Musk. Goes to the movies with Elon Musk.
Yeah, goes to the movie.
I don't know if he actually does. Does Elon even go to the movies?
No.
But Ty's like, so I was at the movie theater the other day and bumped into Elon Musk.
Bumped into him.
Really? Look, I live by the Grove. A lot of celebrities go to the movies at the Grove. I saw, what's the guy, the UFC, the former middleweight champion?
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva. I'm like at the Grove, and I'm like, and he was like, don't make a scene because then people start throwing stuff. I'm like, oh, what's up, Anderson? No, don't worry, I'm cool. I'm a big time too. And I tell them,
True, and I'm glad you brought that up. Is constantly all these stories you hear are about. So it's proof, social proof. All my friends are, and we say the name because they already have built up trust in a community or in an economy. So why spend money to get in front of people that you're already going to get in front of eventually, when you can do it through a relationship or through some other form. So it's I don't want to break out all the secrets. But that's how you need to start thinking. Okay, trust levels. Who already has established trust? How can you? So I'm not going to get into all that. But the last step is samples. Sound Oracle does this pretty well. He'll give out. Well, I'm not going to give your secrets out. But
feel free.
Samples. I don't mean drum samples.
Right.
Anything you give out for free. This is the bait. This is the what do they call it? A bribe. Some people call it
Lead magnet.
the lead magnet. This is.
Oh, as Dave Chappelle say, "Gotcha, bitch."
Gotcha.
You can edit that out. Right?
That's good, and it's the thing that we exchange. Some people call it paying forward. I think paying forward. I think we had this conversation. Was it us?
Yeah.
You know, paying forward in my mind is more so, like when you hear these companies buy out a sector of a university. Like they fund some $7 million part of the university, or they have a branch or academy or something. They're paying forward. They're investing the money now to get employees later. Mm-hmm. That's paying forward to me. Right. But when you're sowing favor, it's a little bit different. You know, the only way you can get a favor is if you give one first. There's nobody's gonna do any favors for you for no reason.
Yes.
You know, they didn't have to come out here for any reason. Colin did me a huge favor. Honestly, you carried. You know, the conversation very well, added tons of value. Jamar, yourself too. I mean, really didn't even. Yeah. Very smart guy, very wise guy. You know, all of you added a different element, because you all come from different stories. But again, they're sowing favor first. They didn't have to come here if they didn't want to, and in turn, we're gonna see how we can add value back to our friends. That's how it works, and. So that's the sample part. But those are the 4 things. Again, I told my little cousin this when she applied to university. This is what's going to separate you from everybody else. It's how you communicate your message. Expert communicators are expert, business leaders, in my opinion. Well, to a degree.
Have you heard of the Go-Giver?
The Go-Giver.
Called the Go-Giver.
I'm hooked on it by the title already. Please.
Yeah.
Hooked on it? Please, continue.
Bo Burnham. It was written by 2 others. I forget the others now. Forgive me for that. But, you know, I remember my whole life people would say, Jamar, you definitely are like a go-getter, right? And a go-getter just goes to get for himself, or even if he's getting for others, he's just going to get things from people. But a go-giver is doing what you said. They're planting seeds. They're planting samples. And in sales, I mean, I work in sales. You have to plant seeds and give it time to grow. And if you are a go-giver with that, then people in return start to reflect who you are. And then you only attract people who are kind of used to like reflecting, and then your network grows and it becomes a network of people who are all helping each other move forward and not simply, being dead weight, so to speak.
Exactly. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, so I don't really, run around recommending tons of books, but if there's one book I would ever read, it's this book called Influence by Bob Cialdini.
Yes.
And it's a book that basically explains everything that they've just talked about. There's scientific evidence that this is true, right? And one of the examples is in Influence. It's called the reciprocation principle. It's what he's talking about. It's basically the idea that it's been scientifically proven that if you give someone something, there's this strange feeling of weight that they have where they want to even that favor as fast as possible, right? And usually they actually over-deliver the favor. And a good example of this is there was a religious movement. I don't know if you guys are...
Influence.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There was a religious movement in like the late 90s, and it was a religious group that would go in airports. Right? And they had these little flowers, right? And this thing, I mean, they raised, I think, $800 million in 1 year, right? It's just absurd amounts of money. And what they did is you would come into the terminal to go to your flight, and they would say, "Excuse me, sir, I need you to have this flower." And you'd go, "I don't want your flower. Why would I want your flower?" And they'd say, "No, I insist. Please have this flower. It's a gift for you." And you go, "I don't want the flower." And they go, "Sir, I'm sorry. I need you to have this flower. It's really important to me. You seem like an amazing person. Can you please just take the flower? It would mean a lot to me." So you take the flower, and the guy goes, "Okay, if you feel like donating to the cause, you can donate as well." And nobody's going to donate, right? That just sounds ridiculous. Well, it turns out like 80% of the people that got this flower ended up giving the guy $1, right? And half the time they would then just walk up a little bit and throw the flower in the garbage. And you know what he would do? He would turn around, pick it out of the garbage, go up to the next guy, "Excuse me, sir, I have this flower. You must take it."
And the reason this worked is exactly what we're talking about, right? It's they felt like they were being given something, even they didn't want it. It was able to trigger that feeling of reciprocation where they had to even the score. How are they going to do it? Fine, I'll just give the guy $1. Now I'm even, right? Now he's giving me the flower. He's going to leave me alone. I gave him the $1. We're done. Now that's kind of a scammy interpretation of it, but everyone in this room, you know, Oracle, Busy, me, everyone in this room has stuff that we need that would make our lives easier, right? And I guarantee you the easiest way for anyone to get anything done is to find a way to make their life easier in some legitimate way, right? You know, everyone, you know, so if you're able to make someone's life easier, the reciprocation principle instantly is going to kick in and it's going to help you somehow. You know, even if you're doing it just for that reason, it will still help you eventually, right? And if you sort of start to think about things in this way, and it becomes a way that, you know, instead of like hoarding, you know, contacts or information, you just instantly just dish them out, right? Mm-hmm. It always comes back to you. It really does. And if it doesn't, then, you know, you cut that person loose and, you know, you ignore them. But it's in this book. He gives tons of examples. And one other example from that book that I'll bring up is you were talking about pay it forward, right? And you know, give them something. Pet shops, it's also in the book. He runs an example of they ran a study with like 50 different pet stores, and half the pet stores they made you just buy the pet and, you know, see how many people bought the pets. Turns out it wasn't all that effective. But what the other pet shops did is they said, look, we're going to give you the pet. You know, if you don't like the pet, you can return it in 7 days and we'll take it back for free. Right? If you take little Joey the dog here and you don't want him, bring him back in 7 days, you can have him. Nobody returned the dog, right? Because once you have the dog, you build the emotional bond with it. It's not going anywhere. But a lot of people were afraid of the feeling of shelling out the money for the dog. And what if I don't like it? Or what if I can't take care of it? Or what if all this stuff, you know, goes wrong? When that's all removed and they know they can return it, they buy the dog, you know, without having any emotional pressure. And then what happens? They love the dog and that's it. It's great. The pet shop made the money. The people have a good dog. Everybody wins. The idea is if you're able to sort of remove the fear factors or the pain points of people for whatever the thing might be, it becomes a lot easier to get things done, you know? That's why you see so many companies, for example, do like money back guarantees. Believe me. Yeah, nobody wants to do that, believe me. But a lot more people buy knowing that they can get their money back if it's not good. And, you know, if your product's not good, it's not going to matter anyway. But a lot of the time it's enough to convince somebody on the edge to go ahead and buy it, and then he tries it and he loves it. So it's all in that book too, though. I'm giving the paraphrases, but he goes into just study after scientific study after scientific study for all this kind of stuff.
I always give my dates money back guarantees.
Sorry, that was funny on a few levels.
I know, right?
and
Red pill. I'm a red pill.
Yeah, glad you brought that up. And I don't want to spread too many things, but the Lollapalooza effect, when all these things, like humans are pain averse. We're more pain averse than we are trying to gain pleasure.
Very true.
So that's another thing. But this, you know, I don't want to give out all the secrets. But and when you combine these emotional factors like the guarantee, when you lower the risk, what is it doing? It's lowering that trust threshold. So if the person's here and they're skeptical, but they require this amount of trust, how do you lower the bar, the threshold, so that it just goes above that point? And that's where exchange occurs. Like, for example, like our own page that we created in like a day and a half. What did I offer? We always offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Why? On a digital product. Why would we offer money back on a digital product? Just like if you buy a video game, or what's the policy for video games? You can't return.
I think they do the same thing, even, I think.
They do
No,
money
it's
back?
less than that. It's like 14. Like it's 14 days unless you open it.
Right, open it.
If you open it, then you can't return it.
You can't return it. So we try to avoid that stigma, which is that its sales are final, you know, to what? Lower the trust threshold. So we practice everything we're teaching about. It's not just fluff and theory. Mm-hmm. We do that. Even if you look at the page for Music Producer Mastermind meeting this weekend, what does it say right next to all the ticket options? You have a guarantee that if you can't make it to the event and, you know, or you're displeased or whatever, we will give you that value in currency of the store. So you don't need to feel like, oh, I'm wasting $250 or whatever, or $150 or whatever it may be on VIP access. So we practice this and we get results. And the reason we get results is because the stuff works. It's just plain and simple. And Oracle knows, I mean, you've seen rapid growth recently. Can you kind of tell stories about stuff you're doing with Triza even?
Well, what and the thing he's talking about, first of all, for those of you that don't know, Trezor is a business partner of mine. He's my friend, but we also co-host a producer podcast every Friday live on Instagram.
Okay.
And the reason why we've seen rapid growth is because what we do is we get online every Friday and we literally answer any question that people ask us live on Instagram. And we tape it and we syndicate it to iTunes and YouTube and all of that the following week. The biggest difference is, we came in the game as producers. We want to get placements, we want to get money. And we were doing that, but not on this level. Once we turned that into go giving, if you will, the returns were amazing. And one thing that you'll notice too, when you interact with people and you're able to, some people have just one question that is preventing them from interacting with your business or spending money. So if you set up a platform on a consistent, regular, scheduled basis where you can answer all of these questions, I mean, it's immediate. It was night and day. We're like, why didn't we do this 3 years ago? But it's all about giving. And of course, social proof is also in there.
Mm-hmm.
Busy's in there as well. People respect Busy. He says great things about, and that just adds on to it. So now we're answering questions. We have someone that they respects us, and we have other big name producers that drop by, and it's all about giving value, answering questions, and I base it on a model of what would I have wanted in the world when I first started, because I came from a place where I was the only one into production. Nobody even knew what a producer was, but I was just drawn to it, you know. And I had no one to ask, no, nothing. It was a gift and a curse because I developed my own ways of doing things, which happens to be what my business is today, just those methods I developed as a kid. But it's all based on what a beginner would want and the questions that they would have and the barriers that they face. You just knock those down immediately. And the next thing you know, you have an ally for life.
What's the podcast?
It's called Unquantized.
My favorite.
I love that name.
Podcast. I don't want to be rude and interrupt, but I wanted to greet and welcome our friends.
How you doing?
Hey,
Sergio, Beats Music.
Sergio.
Nice to meet you,
There he is.
Sergio.
And Carlin, a game, whatever you want to call me. Neestroy.
Lee.
Oh, Leestroy.
Yeah.
Hey, it's getting crowded in here. We got to move into the other room.
And actually,
I think.
to Unquantized podcast community members.
Oh, really?
Facts.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Every Friday.
Every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Ask your people to rate you on iTunes more so you can get up so people can find it more.
Great idea.
Because you only got 6 ratings and it's all 5-star, but like if you get more ratings, then they'll place you on like the front page and things like that, which will give you more visibility.
Great idea.
I didn't even know you were on iTunes.
It's just one of those things. It's mostly, we just wanted to syndicate it somewhere, so we just put it in YouTube, iTunes.
Are you using SoundCloud or Anchor to host it?
Actually, Trezor takes care of that.
Okay, cool.
That part.
Okay. Listen, it's getting crowded in this small room and it's getting hot. I say, can we move into like the main room? Because now it's to capacity.